I'm Kevin Casey. I'm a professional mixed martial arts fighter. And right now what I'm about to do is issue a warning out to all other competitors.
I don't want overs. I just expect them to happen.
Fatty's gonna fatty is real.
Oh, give me fucking truth, baby! Come on! Let's go!
How have I been this successful in life?
Welcome to another edition of the MMA Analysis Podcast. Yo soy Brad. Yeah? That means I am Brad, right? Because we're going to Mexico town, Mexico City for this card. Elevation. We're up at Elevation this week. Very important. No fatties at Elevation is kind
sad.
of
sad.
It's very sad, Shaun. I'm a little disappointed, but we had some good fights last week. We've got a couple of really good fights this week, and then the rest of the card is also happening. But how are you doing, sir?
Doing well. It's been a good start to the year, so I'm assuming that starts to turn soon for the old gambling on the UFC.
You're back.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been good. I'm not absolutely freezing in February, so that's a bonus because that's normally when that happens. So yeah, just living some dad life, trying to survive, and watching some fights every Saturday.
Most Saturdays.
And
we don't watch them all.
Let's not get crazy.
Let's keep things in perspective here. We're still in 2024, folks. As I said, though, good card last week. We'll go through some of that, and then we'll get into the UFC Mexico. But first, massive sports news: the New York Riptide moving to Ottawa to become the Ottawa Black Bears.
Have they announced
Big
it?
deal.
Have they announced that's what the name's going to be?
I think that's what they announced. It's a shitty name. But it's Ottawa, so it's always got to be red and black for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't get that shit. Anyway, they could have done a lot of things, but hey, it's kind of cool. One of the, I guess it's kind of shitty because you want to be in New York if you're like a real sports league, but the NLL isn't. So, whatever.
Yeah, what's
field hockey? What's field hockey?
They're the only New York team, I would assume, right?
Yes.
Just lacrosse wasn't working there. They like too much other kinds of lacrosse. Why? I know they were getting punted from their stadium, but
yeah,
I feel like they could have found the stadium. No,
they probably could have, but it's just never. It used to be really popular back in the 80s and 90s in New York.
Yeah.
They had one of the original teams. They used to draw 15,000 people, and then I don't know, just sort of dropped off. They're more into the outdoor lacrosses, and then they've got a billion teams in every league, and just not something that's a priority there. Kind of like for the UFC, making good fights, not a priority anymore. But there was an exception last week. Featherweight title, UFC 298, Ilia Topuria. That is some of the realest punching power that I've seen in a minute, Shaun. That dude can crack.
Yeah, he did the thing. He was gonna look like a dumbass if he didn't with kind of how he was talking, but I don't know, that confidence, that self-belief, that can take you a good ways, and when you have some skills, it's a pretty deadly combination. I was pretty big on him. It's kind of always tough when these kind of younger guys come along and they get put in these title fights, especially when they're not super tested before that. And it happens from time to time, especially in this day and age in the UFC when they need to make fights. They have to keep the butter churning. But he did the damn thing. good on Volk for, playing up the old man shtick. It made it more interesting than I think any other Volkanovski fight week. He got to show some personality. Unfortunately, came on the losing end there. But yeah, it's awesome to see. He is a very big deal. He's not a big deal in North America because, everybody's pretty localized to American fighters. I guess we can't even say Canadian fighters, but just English speakers and stuff like that. But he's a big fucking deal over in Spain and Georgia. It's kind of cool to see a guy like that do the damn thing against a pound for pound great fighter.
He's the man to finally unite Western and Eastern Europe.
Georgia and Spain.
Yeah, it's gonna bring prosperity to all the lands. Interesting to see what he does next. So long, I know he's going to be that kind of dork that's like, oh, I want to go up to 155 and then I'm going to go up to 170. And he's going to be one of those guys just because that's who he is. But I hope he sticks around and he fights a bunch of guys at featherweight because I think there's a lot of interesting fights for him there. And
all fresh because he hasn't fought a bunch of these guys in the top 5 because, they were already matched up and they were injured and stuff like that. So there's a bunch of really good matchups. Max come back down after the BMF and the winner of, the co-main event this Saturday. Those are all awesome fights. So I hope it's those.
Certainly. Sorry for the little glitch there. I turned off the VPN. The lacrosse is over. Heartbreak City, Shaun.
Damn.
There can be only one Highlander, and they roll on. What's next? Volk break? Big long break? Big long break?
It's tough because last time he's like, well, I don't know what to do with myself. I need to get back in there. I have to fight and stuff like that. But he should obviously take a good amount of time. At least hopefully 6 months. Let that brain rest up because who knows how many, big fights he has left in him. As we know, lower weight classes is brutal as you age. He did get a nice pay increase for taking that shitty last minute fight against Mac and Cheese. So take some time off, rest that brain, and come back and crush somebody that's not Mac and Cheese or Topuria.
Was that bump in pay just for the one fight, or did that carry over to this fight as well? What did he get? Like $750 for this?
$750. Yeah. I would assume that's just.
I mean, it's a lot for the UFC. It doesn't feel like it's a lot for.
No, he was a pound for pound number 1 or number 2, and yeah, he was making $750. I mean, that is what it is. Maybe he got some pay-per-view points. Who knows how well this the pay-per-view sold? But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. But yeah, it's unfortunately we don't really get the disclosed payouts in anywhere but basically California anymore. So we won't know if all of a sudden, because he's not the champ, it's he's back down to like 300 grand or something like that a fight. But yeah, he needs to rest up and give us another a couple of good fights, and maybe that's it.
Yes, sir. Co-main event, middleweight division. This was a pretty fun one as well. So one thing I don't like, and we've talked about this before, and me not liking it, the calf kicks. Shaun, we know I'm not a fan of the calf kicks, unless, of course, I bet on a guy who's going to use the calf kicks, and that's an essential part of the strategy, obviously. But every fight, even fights between good fighters, are just turning into calf kicking contests now, and it's honestly not fun to watch. Like, I don't want to watch a fight where 30 seconds into the fight, both fighters can't walk. Like, that's not entertaining.
It just reduces the amount, like, especially if they're like strikers, it really just reduces the amount of chance there is that they're going to get a knockout, because they can't generate as much power. They can't plant near as good on a foot that got kicked a couple times. It's unfortunate. There were some good checks in that fight. So I don't know. Unfortunately, with lower level fighters, I just don't think they have the skills to check kicks. That's a good way to fucking stop somebody from kicking you. Like it's tough to do, but there are some guys out there that can check some calf kicks, and guys will stop doing it. So
Yeah.
unfortunately, the calf kicks are leading the way, and the checks are trailing far behind. But hopefully, they can catch up soon, and maybe we won't see as much of it.
Hopefully, we can only dream. Because and Rogan with the calf kick is more important than a jab. Bullshit. Like,
I gotta be honest, it's
kind
been
of agree
a
with them?
while. No,
Oh.
it's been a while since I've watched a fight with commentary on, because like usually I'm doing shit nowadays, like now and stuff like that. Like I just have no use for commentary. I'll just watch it. Would I rather have an option to just not have commentary and give me the sounds of the octagon? Of course, but that's not really a thing. So I just have it on mute and don't have to listen to the dumb shit that either Dom Cruz is talking about cuts, Rogan's talking about calf kicks. It's bad. It's fucking bad. On this co-main event fight, I am the absolute Whittaker mush, because I have got like 6 straight fights wrong betting on his fights, all of them except one betting against him. I thought he was done. The dude's still very good. Like he might be degrading a bit. I don't know what the fuck happened in that DDP fight. I feel like if he fought like he did against Whittaker or against Costa, that would be a much closer fight. I don't know. He just had a bad night. Because they look good, pretty good. I mean, he was getting up there in age and damage, but he looked pretty good. I know Costa caught him with a wheel kick, but other than that, like he was kind of beating him fairly handedly, other than Costa every once in a while throwing out the jab and maybe landing a hammer every once in a while. But Whittaker's still good. Costa's still fun. Hopefully we get to see Costa fight more, because I want to see him fight lesser guys and just absolute meathead thrash guys. He's been fighting the upper echelon. Let's give him a step or two down and let him do some violent shit.
I just went to our champion predictions because I was like, who did I pick for middleweight for this year? And apparently nobody. So I'll pick Whittaker now.
Yeah, that was one of mine that I trailed off. I wasn't listening or something like that and didn't write it down. But I will.
It's
I will
quite
go
possible that I was on the PEDs for that podcast, and
we're all on the PEDs.
Pick anything. So yeah, that'll happen. Steve, I knew you would be disappointed by Wes's absence. So I brought an Earl Grey Porter because I know you Brits love your tea. So I'm going to drink that next to help soothe the soul. All right. That one's for you, mate, chap. Anyway. Yeah, that was a fun fight. Felt good about the Costa KO for about half a second, and then Whittaker was just like, "Oh, actually, I'm somehow okay."
Should have just done it 30 seconds sooner and made it gets there, but that's called timing.
Speaking of the next fight, Ian Gary, split decision over Jeff Neal. Honestly, I didn't hate this. Like the third round that might have given me eye cancer. I don't know. It's possible. But I didn't hate the rest of the fight from Gary. I thought he did some pretty good stuff. It was certainly the most impressed with him that I've ever been. I don't know that, I don't like him. He's a very unlikable human being, very punchable face, very too tall, as you know, how I feel about those guys. Got some of those tendencies too. It's going to get him one of these days. But as far as Ian Gary fights go, I thought he looked pretty good.
He did what he had to in a fight against a fairly big puncher and a guy that's not really going to take him down. That he did what he had to. He had to stick and move and throw kicks to the body and knees up the middle, and he looked all right doing it. I took him and over 1.5 in the same game parlay. I thought that was pretty nice because Jeff Neal is a tough bastard. The real test is going to be when he fights a grappler. That's what I want to see. I think he does well against strictly strikers, but the big test is going to be once he gets closer to somebody who's actually has a competent grappling game, and then we'll see what he can do because he's been taken down by some lesser guys. So if he's getting inside the top 5, we'll see how that goes. I know we called out Kobe Covington. A bit of a weird fight. Like I get the upside because Covington is he is a known guy, but stylistically, like he just assumes he's going to stop those takedowns. That could be very bad for him.
That could be bad for him even if he does stuff some of the takedowns, if Covington just puts a shitload of volume on him.
Yeah. And I don't know. Who knows what Colby is after seeing him in that Edwards fight, but pace and wrestling, that doesn't sound like something that that Gary's gonna be able to deal with. So I guess we'll see if that fight comes about.
We shall see indeed. We will also see if the snooze machine title fight will come about. Because O'Malley is trying his best to be his O'Mookie self and dodge that fight. He's gonna try and absolutely anything he can to weasel his way out of that one. The snooze machine comes for us all, buddy, and it's coming for him next. Shaun,
I just don't know how you can duck him that long. Like he's getting O'Malley's getting the fight that he asked for and that he didn't really deserve. He's fighting a guy coming off one win. You got to give it to the snooze machine next. Maybe they're trying to protect O'Malley. I don't know, but the dude he's fucking broke MMA. It doesn't make sense. You got to kill this guy. You got to knock him the fuck out and early on because he will drown you. He will drown you with pace. He will drown you with takedowns and trying takedowns, and it's not gonna be fun. But I will enjoy it if it happens. This one was decent. Henry had a good first round, and then the tidal wave came crashing down, and Dvalishvili made it as kind of exciting as he can with his style. And yeah, this was a decent a bet for me with him in a parlay. And it on the store cards, it doesn't really tell the whole tale of the story. I think Merab is very good. I think he's inevitable to be the champ.
Yeah, Cejudo looked good in the first round here. I'm not sure if you were looking at live lines during this at all, but it was even money after round one. And I think even towards the end of round one, you could already start to see what was coming. Crazy. But Cejudo is a very good MMA fighter who didn't have to, but took some years off in the back end of his prime as a flyweight bantamweight, and now just isn't what he used to be, but is still quite competitive. But he's going to retire again or something. Who knows? Anyway, he'll be back when he wants some more money. Just a little bit. Middleweight division.
A little bit.
Fluffy. Round 2. Rear naked choke. Over the copy pop. Good stuff from Fluffy. He really fluffied him up in this one.
Dude's fun. Enjoys what he does. He's he has fun in there. I don't think Kopylov looked terrible. It's just that is kind of a hole, and Fluffy is very, very good at what he does. So I don't know if we'll get some decent prices after that performance against some strikers, but Coffee Lob's still good against strikers, and Fluffy is very fucking good. I don't know what he's got to get a step up.
Yeah. I don't know who.
I know that I think that like this is the last minute switch. I forget who he was supposed to fight, but yeah, he's got to get like a top, 7 fighter, especially this.
You know who's ranked just ahead of him at middleweight right now? Paul Craig Berju.
Berju is fighting Brendan Allen. Or no, he fought Brendan Allen. Who the fuck is Paul Craig fighting? He's coming up.
He's always fighting. Berju's awesome.
Berju fights. He's fighting. Oh fuck, he's fighting Cal Bohalio.
Oh, that dork?
On 301. He's going into hostile territory and fighting a grappler that probably has better top game than him.
You know what? I bet the people in Brazil will probably cheer for the Berju in that one. Because that other dude, Boralho, yeah, it's right in the name. He stinks. Nobody likes that guy. Anyway, we'll find somebody for Fluffy to fight. Maybe like a silly grappling match with Doolittle or something like that, because he just fought, right? Yeah, he just fought Zimmerhoff. Yeah, there could be some stuff. We'll see. Anyway, with the prelims on UFC 298, going through these real quick. Amanda Lemos, unanimous decision over Mackenzie Dern. That was actually kind of fun. Marcos Rogerio, decision Lima, couldn't get there because Laffy Taffy stinks and fell over because of leg kicks. Rinya Nakamura, unanimous decision over Carlos Vera. That was like fight straight out of 1997. That was hilarious. Mingyang Zhang apparently killed Brenson Ribeiro. Danny Barlow killed Josh Quinlan, perhaps. I don't know. Oban Elliott almost fulfilled the UK prodigy prophecy of being a fade plant, but we'll have to wait a couple more harvests for that one. And Miranda Maverick, decision over Andrea Lee. Anything from the prelims at all, Shaun?
Lemos not getting any 10-8s in that fight is fucking brutal, considering there would have been a lot of refs that would have stopped the fight. And if you're close to stopping a fight and you don't get a 10-8, those refs need to be given a smack or two. Yeah, I stayed away. I took Lima by sub. Why sub somebody when you can just calf kick the shit out of them? Nakamura, I thought he had skills. He does have skills. He's a very good grappler. He needs to really add to his game, because he's fought back-to-back guys who I know they're tough, but he hasn't really shown too much advancement in finishing ability. And they are giving him a bit of a slow roll, but he's like almost 30. Like, it's not like he's super young, so he's got to get going. Some people are excited because this was the first time that a light heavyweight or higher Chinese fighter won in the UFC, which is interesting.
He's future champ then, right?
Future champ, yep. Quinlan, yeah, he was going to get very, very, very hurt. He already got beat up a bunch and he got saved, so that's good. Like you said, Elliott is fade plant, and Miranda Maverick,
future champ.
Future champ.
Former
Parlay,
future champ.
This
Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wonderful stuff.
Yep.
Honestly, I can't do like starting from the first prelim and watching all the way through anymore. I'll hop in somewhere around like the first interesting prelim. So in this one, it was Fatties. So I watched that crash and burn, and then like the rest of it was all right from there. Don't have 6 hours, 7 hours of half.
Not
of
when they're delivering this trash. Like UFC for maybe 10, 15 years ago is a different story. This stuff, we just can't reward mediocrity anymore by giving our eyeballs. If something cool's happened, I'll look it up. If not, not happening.
He is indeed not the Nakamura that fought Wanderlei, the axe murderer, Silva. Congratulations. We just saw Chris Cyborg Santos in drag get inducted into the UFC Hall of Fame. That's who they showed on the broadcast, right?
That's what Dana thought.
Yeah, he was awesome to watch back in the day, and we got like a little bit of the awesome for people who only ever saw him in the UFC, like the Chuck fight, the Brian Stan fight. He had a couple big knockouts in the UFC. Obviously, the R choke, Bondi Classic against Keith Jardine.
That was so deadly.
Legendary moments in the UFC, thanks to Wanderlei Silva. And if you haven't seen it, this is one thing I didn't appreciate a lot about the broadcast. This is one thing I appreciated when they actually encourage people to be like, you know what? Who cares about what we're doing right now? Just go watch old Wanderlei fights, because those are fun as hell. He's just a roided out Brazilian kicking the absolute shit out of a whole bunch of Japanese pro wrestler dudes who were all tough as hell. And then occasionally they would have a big fight, and those would be awesome too. And yeah, it was just a good time back in the early aughts, as we like to call them, to confuse the kids that don't know what aughts mean. What else? That's it, I think. Yeah. So this card, Mexico City, elevation, everyone's going to gas. It is known. It should be the breakdown for every fight. And we're going to kick it off in the featherweight division. Muhammad Naimov. Did you know that in Russian No Frills is a grocery chain up here in Canada, for those of you who don't know. They don't have No Name, which is the brand they have here in Canada. They have Naimov. This guy's Muhammad No Name. He's incredible.
Did you see that on the Tucker Carlson show? Is that where you found that out there?
Yes. Yeah. That's where I get all my information.
That's what I figured. This is a big number on Naimov. I get it a little bit. He was losing that fight against Jamie Malarkey and until he, landed a bomb, which, props to him. I don't know if Eric Silva's that good. I probably isn't. He lost to TJ Brown. But this could get interesting. Like if Naimov can't, if Eric Silva can take him down, it could get interesting. Naimov probably keeps it standing for the most part and lands a big bomb and gets him out of there. But man, people really be parlaying the old Naimov up to minus 500, minus 600. We're on our way. Like, not my cup of tea.
Yeah, I don't think I'll be betting this either. But just in the spirit of elevation capping this one, his nickname, Muhammad No Naimov, is Hillman. And he trains in Denver, and he's fighting in Mexico City. That's like the holy trinity of things. So obviously he's going to win. He's going to be fine out there. There you go. But yeah, if you get out grappled by TJ Brown, I don't like your chances in a lot of fights in the UFC. So Naimov here, but not playing it at that price. Flyweight, Victor Moreno. He loves getting taken down. He's taking on Felipe Dos Santos, he's got to be like the little Dubrox, right?
He looked good in a loss against Cape. Late notice. We talk about this all the time. It's always interesting to see whether they just kind of stepped up to that occasion and then they'll regress to more what they are of a fighter, or if they actually are decent and this is flyweights and guys are just good at this level. I don't think Victor Moreno is that good. He does love to get taken down. Is this guy going to take him down? I don't know. I haven't watched his regional scenes fights. I can only see what I saw in the Kape fight. Should be fun. I can't lay almost 3-1 on a guy that, yes, he did look good in a loss, but I'd rather watch and see. But I hope that dude puts on a show.
Yeah, impressive in a loss is always one of the red flags, but like Moreno is also not impressive in his losses or his wins. So I did actually like what I saw out of Dos Santos in his UFC debut. I don't know that I can. I might be able to parlay him here. I might be able to do that. That could be fun. But it is a high price. It's a little worrisome when it comes to flyweights. Sticking in the flyweight division, Luis Rodriguez, Dennis Bondar. Nothing for me here. So
yeah, it's interesting to see a guy fighting at 135 that is a soft body human being. Going by that, I guess I'll pick Bondar, even though he somehow, I know it was an arm injury, but he lost to Malcolm Gordon. You lose to Malcolm Gordon, you should be untouchable. Does arm injury negate that? I guess we'll see. I'll pick Bondar in Toutmaster.
That is fair. Next up, Claudio Puelles taking on Fares Zayam, making the French dude fly over to Mexico to take on the Peruvian. Interesting.
Yeah, Puelles was he just shamed into just not fighting for a while, and just they made him, collect some new skills after that butt scooting he did against old Dan Hooker. I don't know, because he hasn't been scheduled for a fight, didn't fight at all in 2023, and now he's fighting Fares Zayam.
He was just like, shit, I need to learn how to fight. Let's go do that.
Are we gonna see that? Kind of doubt it. Still think it's knee bar bust.
After his UFC debut, there was, I think it was one of the Ultimate Fighter finales. That was November of 2016. Also hilarious that this dude has been in the UFC for fucking 8 years. So he fought in November 2016. And then he didn't fight again until May of 2018. So very similar break in terms of the amount of time that he had off. And then he went on to win, 5 fights in a row and knee bar the shit out of people. And so now he's going to come back. He's going to have a new trick. It's going to work for a few fights. But remember the time when Dan Hooker was like minus 150 against this dude?
I bet Puelles, but I bet him by sub at like some stupid number, I'm pretty sure. But yes, that was at that point you just laugh. Like, this is beyond a horrible bet. I just have to laugh when your guy is butt scooting.
He almost had a couple knee bars and things.
Yeah, but fight. Hooker's like, good fighters usually train, especially when a guy is a bit of a one-trick pony, and usually they can get out of that stuff. Turns out he did. I think the angle is like, I know Puelles has a bunch of later round knee bars, but I have a hard time seeing him winning this fight if it gets deeper into this fight. I know the props haven't come out for this one yet, but I think if you play Puelles, you take round 1 sub or something like that. Because if Zayam extends it, he's probably going to win. Are we going to see some butt scooting? Probably. I'll pick Zayam, but I might throw a dart depending how big round one sub is on the playlist.
Yeah, you might get a good number there. And for us, IM isn't particularly good. So there's that. It's not a very good fight. But one of the guys is hilarious to watch fighting. So I hope that Pulis didn't get good at fighting, because if he just becomes another generic prelim guy, that's way less fun than awful dude who sometimes leg locks people. So I'm cheering for him to still be shitty. We're just about to throw it in the glass. So we'll get there during the trilogy that everybody needed in their lives. Edgar Cherez, the chairman, taking on Daniel da Silva Lacerda. Shaun.
I'm not breaking down this fight. It's been beaten to death. It's canceled. Does that happen? Probably not. There's going to be a weight miss, a botch, something like that. Somebody's going to break a toe walking out to the octagon. I don't really care. I'm probably still going to pick Lacerda in Toutmaster because this number is wide and Lacerda seems like he has power even though he's not that good.
Well, there's a reason I didn't give a weight class for this one. That's because Lacerda is going to come in at like 139 and he's just going to bully the shit out of the chairman. Finally,
139 for a flyweight fight?
Yep.
Perfect.
And Cherez is going to take it because he wants to fight in front of the Mexican people. He wants to maintain his warrior spirit or whatever. So he'll still accept the fight, and it'll be the last mistake he ever makes. But seriously, I don't know why they keep booking this same fight. But the price is getting hilariously high on Lacerda, even though he looked like he had no shot the last time these guys fought. Didn't have a 14-pound weight advantage during that one either. So first time for everything, folks. More flyweights. Jesus Aguilar taking on Mateus Mendonça. Shaun.
Yeah, Mendonça has had a pretty rough run in the UFC. He got Basharat and then Nate Manass. Aguilar's had, he got choked out by Tyra, but whatever. Then they gave him a cupcake fight in Shannon Ross, and he did what you're supposed to do against Shannon Ross. Mendonça seems like he's the better guy. Just has had a bit of a rougher run in the UFC. I don't think I'm going to bet either of these guys. They're still both fairly young and probably getting better at different rates. So I will just pass, but I'll pick Mendonça.
I think Mendonça is actually pretty good. And Aguilar beat a can and got beat up by a good fighter. I think Mendonça is much closer to Tyra than he is to Shannon Ross. This is kind of a cheap price, minus 128 over at Bet Online. So I think I'm going to end up with a bet on Mendonça here. I don't think Aguilar is much more than just a little bit of submission ability. He's got 6 guillotines or whatever on his record. I don't think that's going to happen here. What he did in the Ross fight is not the way he normally fights or wins fights. And Mendonça actually has a pretty active, diverse game. So, yeah, I'll bet the little favorite at flyweight and move us along to the bantamweight division final prelim. 7 prelims on this one, folks. Christian Quinones taking on Jaime Barcelos. Shaun.
Our buddy Jaime has had a bit of a rough run. He's been fighting some very, very good fighters, but he is not been getting the better side of most of those fighters. He is, 30. What's he pushing? 36 now, turning 37 in May. That's always concerning at the lower weight classes. I don't think Christian Quinones is that good. Kang Hong Kang smoked him. Rowney should probably be able to get takedowns and kind of grind him out. It is a bit tough to back Howney at this day and age at close to a 2-1 favorite. Over 1.5 is like -175 at Bovada. I haven't looked if Bet365 is around that price. I kind of like that. Barcelos has shown for the most part he's pretty tough, except against extremely good fighters. And for the most part, he's not been too much of a finisher. So I probably will side with putting the over 1.5 if it's a decent price and a parlay. But the pick will be Rowney to grind out and maybe get a late finish.
Yeah, I think I'm willing to lose money on Rowney again. One last time. This is a massive step down in competition for him. I don't necessarily know that means he's going to look great, because sometimes he fought down to his competition anyway. But Quinones has a little bit of danger that he poses on the feet. Obviously, he was able to crack Kang before they just started exchanging and turned into chaos in that fight. I don't think that he's going to be able to have the same success against Howney. So, yeah, should be takedowns and should be easy. But we've said that about Barcelos fights for the past decade and a half at this point, and he never makes it as easy as he should. So it's probably going to be a little bit pucker worthy, but I'm going to throw Barcelos at -190 or whatever the best prices I can match up with on my other spots on the board. So there will be a two-legger kicking it off with Howney Barcelos. Main card, lightweight division, Manuel Torres, Chris Duncan. Do you think that they will be cheering on the Scot in this fight like they will when Bear Jew fights the boring guy?
I kind of think they're going to take the guy from Chihuahua, Mexico.
That's very Mexican. You can't be more Mexican than that.
Yeah. Over 1.5 is like +160, +165. That's a wild number to me in a lightweight fight. I completely understand. Manuel Torres has fought 16 times. He went to decision one time in those fights. All other fights, all 15 of them, were finished in the first round. 2 losses and 13 wins, all finished in the first round. Who are those people? Well, we're talking in the UFC, Nicolas Mota and Frank Camacho. And then on the regional scene, who the fuck knows? Chris Duncan, he had a bunch of first round finishes against very, very weak competition early in his career. As of late, he's been to decision 3 out of 4 times, with all 4 of those being wins. I think if Duncan is smart, he tries to take down Torres and grind him out. I think if he does that, he will have success, and this fight will go over 1.5. So I'll be taking over 1.5, and I'll be taking Chris Duncan in Toutmaster.
Torres has some great names on his resume, though, like Carlos Cañada, not Canada, Cañada.
Yeah.
And Carlos Calvo. Yeah, I feel like that guy could have some great nicknames. But well, he was 6-0 at the time that they fought. That moved him to 7-0, and he's lost all 3 fights since. So
no,
I don't think we're going to see Carlos Calvo in the UFC anytime soon, sadly. I kind of agree with Shaun on this one. I think that Duncan should be the much more well-rounded fighter. the way that like he got rocked and then ended up knocking the guy out on Contender Series makes me think that there's a very good chance that he just gets rocked and slept early in this one. But I don't think that Torres is better than Duncan. And eventually these guys just have fights where they turn into an actual fight. It's not just over when the first guy lands the first thing. So yeah, I think I might be willing to take a shot on, what'd you say it was? Plus 160?
165 at some spots.
I think I might be able to take that shot in place of some fatties. There would have been some glorious fatties on this card. We can take some lightweights at over 1.5. I'll hop on that train with you. Probably take Chris Duncan when it comes to Toutmaster. Women's strawweight division, Yasmin Jauregui taking on Sam Hughes, Sam Page, if you will. Shaun?
This line has probably got a little out of whack. Open minus 300. Now it's minus, 500-600. Like, I know Sam Page
time,
is,
isn't it?
Sam Page is not good. I understand that, but Jauregui probably shouldn't be minus 600 against anybody. She got touched up by Nunes in that fight before she got the finish. Denise Gomes just literally shut her out and finished her in 20 seconds. Sam Page cannot do that. It's not. We're not going to have to worry about that. But I do think Sam Hughes can probably get some takedowns and grind and tire her out. And then who knows what the fuck's going to happen. I might take a look at Hughes like plus 3.5. We'll see what the price on that is. I mean, over 2.5 is like minus 200. So they expect this to go to decision. Could Hughes win at least one round on all three of the judges' scorecards? I think so. I might be sprinkling on her straight up, and I might have a small bet on her plus 3.5.
Yeah, this is auto bet territory. It's gonna go Sam Page. It's got to be at this price. This is almost in women's MMA. This is getting to banana peel price. You've got somebody who isn't good as a big favorite over somebody else who isn't good. And it's just who is more not good on this particular day. Could be anybody's guess. Sam Page by decision, plus 650 out there. That might be a little intriguing. Maybe dip into some split props on this one. Those could have a little bit to them, but yeah, like I've seen Yasmin fight a couple times, and she's not good enough to be minus 500, like ever. I think questionable. Anyway, bantamweight division. Raul Rosas Jr. Translates to son of Leno. When you say it in English, taking on Ricky Tercios. Shaun.
Jay Leno's Mexican love child probably gets it done here. You guys cashed in on the correct fade against him. I've wasted some money fading him against absolutely atrocious fighters. Ricky Tercios can be taken down by a light breeze. I think Paul
not even a stiff breeze.
Not even stiff. We're talking light. So I think Rosas Jr. gets takedowns and probably snatches up a choke. We definitely can fade this guy. This is just not the matchup that should be the go-to here, because Tercios is terrible and it kind of plays into Rosas Jr.'s skills. So this is not the one.
Yeah, this is the guy I'm going to have to look for the other best price on when it comes to pairing with Raoni Barcelos, because I like Rosas to get it done here. I think he's back into a spot where even if he starts to get a little bit tired or can't get the finish right away, he can just sort of physically dominate Tercios, which he wasn't able to do against Christian Rodriguez. And I think until he matures a bit more as a fighter, that's going to be a key to his game and should let him get it done. I think he finds a sub early in this one, or like dominant position, ground and pound, TKO, something like that. But I don't think that's his only way to win. So yeah, we'll go with Rosas Jr. Even I sometimes forget that he did have a lot of success in that Christian Rodriguez fight. It's just, gassed and faced a well-rounded fighter who usually misses weight at 135 and is a pretty big dude that he couldn't just bowl over. Lightweight division. Ooh, we've got Argentinian Dober on this card.
Yeah.
He's taking on Daniel Zellhuber. It's the German transplant, I think. When they're doing the hunting for Hitler shows. Yeah. Just kidding, folks. But anyway, hyped up, terrible UFC debut. And then he's looked better each time out there since then. I may have once upon a time had him as my breakout fighter of the year and then completely jumped off the bandwagon when he had that shit show performance against Trey Ogden. Maybe at some point we'll get back on. Shaun?
Prado opened like plus 350. That got absolutely smoked. Congrats to whoever got that number. I still think the price is a bit high. Prado is obviously a pretty damn good finisher when it comes to, guys on the regional scene and some mediocre UFC guys. I never really thought much of Zellhuber. He's obviously got a fuck ton of length at this height, 77-inch reach at lightweight. I think this could be a close matchup. I'll be interested to see if Prado goes for some takedowns, tests Zellhuber on the ground, on the feet. We'll see if Zellhuber can use that length. He did fairly well in the last couple of fights, but Prado's violent, man, and I might be taking just like a half unit shot on Prado to see if Zellhuber is kind of the guy that Trey Ogden was able to beat, or is he kind of an up and comer that is going to be able to use that length advantage that he has against pretty much everybody in this weight class?
Yeah, I do think that the price is a bit high based on, I don't even think I bet him against Ogden in that fight. But just like watching that performance, it puts that seed of doubt in your mind. With Prado, I can't remember. Ottman is the bag man, and then Abu's the one that took the stuff that's in the bag man to make him actually like good, right?
I believe so. Okay.
Just wanted to make sure that I got that correct. Prado has faced a very bad level of competition throughout his career, and then lost to Jamie Malarkey the first time he fought somebody real, and then beat the bagman, which I'm not sure how much that counts. I just think they're trying, like, obviously with the placement on the card, they're trying to make Zellhuber look good here. Yep. Trying to have him join that contingent of Mexican stars. And I think they probably booked him against the right guy for this one. So we'll say Zellhuber gets the win. I don't know that I'm going to be able to find a ton to bet here. Even the over is just like even money. Prado's super tough. So yeah, don't love much of anything in that one. But Zellhuber will be the pick. Co-main event. I told you We got 2 excellent fights on this card, folks. This is the first one of them. Featherweight division. This guy was a former interim champ, something like that, probably fake champ. Both 2 guys that have fought for the title, Yair Rodriguez and Brian Ortega.
So I was on Yair in the fight against Ortega in 2022. Obviously that had some luck and kind of went my way there. Probably used up all my luck in 2022, and it was just absolutely vacuumed out for 2023. That's the way she goes. I think if you can get either of these guys at decent plus money, I think you take it. This is a close fight between 2 pretty talented guys. I don't know how much we can take from the first fight. Ortega went for 5 takedowns allegedly in 4 minutes. Had some control time, and then obviously got his arm stuck where it shouldn't have been, and Yair took advantage. I know there's probably some concern with Ortega. Hasn't fought since that fight. Basically over a year and a half. Ortega's just kind of a guy that doesn't really fight that often and still kind of shows up pretty good. He took almost 2 years off after that ass beaten from Holloway, and he smoked Chan Sung Jung. So I'm not as concerned as with some other guys that have layoffs. Ortega seems to just be able to fight. This should be a fun matchup. I think it's very close. I was able to get plus 140 on Ortega. That number keeps kind of coming down. He actually opened minus 150, and that got absolutely smoked the other way. And then now it's just kind of been slowly creeping down, getting closer to even money. Close fight. I think Ortega has the grappling advantage, obviously, and Yair has the striking advantage. But we've seen Ortega actually have some decent striking at times. So I think his grappling is going to be enough in this fight, and he'll be able to survive on the feet.
Yeah, I kind of like Ortega here as well. I don't feel great about it. I'm not sure that he could have sustained the grappling pace that he started the last fight with, but I don't think he needs to either. Obviously, as Shaun said, just deep analysis. Yair's the better striker and Ortega's the better grappler. Mind-blowing stuff. But I think that the gap on the ground, despite how the last fight went, is a little bit bigger than the gap on the feet. We've seen Ortega take several ass beatings from better strikers on the feet, but he always gets his licks in as well. And I think that's probably going to be the case here. And I don't even know that I want to look at inside or anything like that for Ortega, which is usually kind of the spot you would look for with him, just because Yair is damn tough and the sub prop itself is less than half of what the TKO prop is. So don't really want to go in that direction. So I think I might just end up with a straight bet on Ortega, even though I think to win that bet, it'll probably have to be a finish. I just have a difficult time picking exactly how he gets that done. Main event, flyweight division. I almost said flyweight title because this could be a title fight. Both these guys very recently fought for the title, much like Yair and Ortega. Brandon Moreno, Raw Dog, Brandon Royval. We are not going to make the joke that I think a Brandon is going to win this fight. Shaun, you can break it down.
It's the first time in 6 fights that Moreno isn't fighting for a belt. So it is, I guess that can confuse some people. I was on
Wait,
Raw
he
Dog.
doesn't have a rematch against Figgy again? What's going on here?
I know. That was so weird with how many times they fought. I don't know if it really helped either of those guys, the amount of times they fought each other.
Broke the UFC as well, because now, like, Volk just got knocked out in ridiculous fashion, like flat, stiff as a board, and people were like, "Oh, should he get an immediate rematch?" Like, I get that he's a great champ, but let's cool our shit with the immediate rematches every time a champ loses their belt.
Yeah, let's breathe. I know they have content to churn out, but let's let these matchups breathe a bit. But yeah, I was on Raw Dog in the first fight. Was interested to see how that was going to play out. Then obviously the injury happened, and then we find out that supposedly it was a common thing. That is a bit worrying. That supposedly that's a thing that happens to him every once in a while. Obviously hasn't happened to him in the bunch of fights since then. But of course, I guess that it kind of always has to be in the back of our brains that it's a possibility. Um, this number seems a bit wide on Moreno. Like I understand, of course, he got the first round finish in that first fight. He was able to take down Raw Dog, and the injury happened. Now we haven't really seen much of an improvement from Royval's takedown defense. Pantoja was able to smother him for 3 rounds. When he wasn't able to, Royval had a lot of success. I'm interested to see if Moreno can have that much success. I don't think he will. I think he will get takedowns. He will have some top control, but I don't think he's going to be able to replicate what Pantoja did. And then when it's on the feet, Royval is awesome. He's chaos. He throws wild shit, and I'm very interested to see. Moreno's chin has been checked a couple times, and Royval has some good power. So 5-round fight is perfect for Royval. It gives him a lot of opportunities if he does get laid on for a little bit of time in each round to get some damage. But yeah, like plus 245, plus 250, like Royval is too good to be that big of an underdog, even with the first matchup going how it did. If he gets laid on for 5 rounds, it is what it is. I'll take my licks, but I just don't think that's going to happen. Moreno has good grappling, but I don't think he has smothering, hold down grappling like Pantoja does.
Yeah, I think Royval's also got a little bit more urgency to not just let guys lay on him anymore. That first fight was basically 3.5 years ago. I think that Royval's probably improved more since then. So much of Moreno's time since then has just been like tunnel vision on Figgy and the first Figgy fight, and then the second Figgy fight, and then the third Figgy fight, and then the fourth Figgy fight. Like, I don't know how much he was improving anything that didn't have to do with beating the guy that he constantly fought for like 3 straight years. Whereas Royval has looked much better in all of his fights since then. Even though he lost the first Pantoja, well, he lost both the Pantoja fights. But even the first one, in the second round of that fight, it looked like he was starting to turn the tide a little bit, and Pantoja just managed to hop on his back and get the choke in. And then obviously they just fought, and Pantoja went to the grappling a whole lot more, was never able to like lock in that same fight-ending position, even though he had chances on his back a couple times. So you've seen a lot of progression from Royval. In their first fight, he threw just a ridiculous pace at Moreno on the feet, and Moreno did not like it at all. It almost looked like a little bit of panic wrestling in that one, which eventually worked out in his favor. But I think if we get 25 minutes of these dudes and of Royval just constantly putting that pressure on Moreno, I think Moreno's been through more with the fights that he's been in the past 5, 6, however many years he's been fighting at the upper echelon of flyweight than Royval has. And if this turns into a war, he's going to be the one that starts breaking down a little bit before Royval does. So I'm going to have a bet on the raw dog. Money line plus 245 is the best out there. That is going to be the consensus bet of the week. I'm also going to bet Royval in a couple different ways. I'm going to take the round 3, 4, 5 props. Those are 22, 25, and 29, I think, were the best prices that I saw, which are absurd to me in this spot. And I think I might throw whatever I can on raw dog decision, no bet. Because I think he's more likely to get the finish here. Obviously, Moreno finished him last time. That is probably how he would have to finish him again, because I don't see him getting Royval out of there. He's not going to sub him, and I don't see him knocking Royval out. So I like Royval in quite a few different ways, and we agree. So that is the consensus. And that's going to do it for this week's MMA analysis. Almost kept it under an hour.
So close.
Did our best. We had some good fights to recap at the start, so I'll give us the 6-minute grace period. Shaun, before we go, anything you want to talk about from this PFL Bellator card? It almost looks like an interesting card. Pay-per-view.
That's a pay-per-view, sir.
Yeah,
it's kind of fallen into shambles. The matchup between Pitbull and NATO was going to be fun. Eblin's fighting Kasangane, which is kind of a wipeout. I wish they had a better fighter for Eblin to fight.
I see Ray Cooper already missed weight for his fight.
Oh, perfect. Yeah.
They've got it marked at 182.
Perfect. Yeah, it's a hell of a start for the old PFL Bellator collaboration. We'll probably get some sacrifices.
Yeah, I'm not sure I fully understand what the vision is here, but
no one does.
Maybe if the idea is that the UFC is going to lose this lawsuit to the fighters, then there's going to be guys that start going to different places, and they might be the first that can benefit from some of that. But it's probably going to be the same story that it always is, where it's more of the cast-offs going there and the occasional young prospect building his way up, becoming a champ, and then eventually making it over to the UFC. But oh well. Aaron Pico is always fun to watch. AJ McKee's usually fun to watch, but he's fighting Clay Collard, who's always fun to watch. Yolo and Thiago Santos could be the greatest fight in MMA history, or they could throw 3 punches over the course of 15 minutes, which is probably the more likely version of that. Claressa Shields, I'm going to bet on Casey DeSantis against Claressa Shields. Ron DeSantis' wife for the win. And I'm surprised Lance didn't show back up, because main event over in Saudi Arabia, his boy Ryan Bader, he's the biggest Bader and Saudi fan that there is. So shame on you for missing this one, Lance.
Yeah. On that note, we have an absolutely atrocious UFC card next week, so we'll probably rip through this one and rip through that one, and it should be another quick show next week. Let's get this junk out of the way and get us on to 299, where it's an absolute stack card.
Oh, on next week. I remember when they were like, fuck it, that's the main event. This is shitty.
And they're also like, fuck it. The Saudis are like, that's too shitty of a card. We're not paying for that. Put that shit in the Apex with Rosenstruck and Gaziev headlining.
Incredible. Fatties. 5-round fatties. We're gonna have a supercalifragilistic fatties on that one. See what the decision price is there. But we'll get out of here for now, folks. Thank you for joining us. We had a good time tonight. Good luck on your bets this coming weekend.